All right. Bob becomes a capitalist. Wait, have you made an LLC? How pertinent. No, I haven't. I should get around to it, though, for a variety of reasons. This is like a cartoon or something? Someone really wanted me to watch this. I have no idea what I'm getting into. Godspeed.
Last time on Common Sense Soapbox, Bob to the future!
Roberto, any plans to open a restaurant? Those tacos were amazing!
Oh no. Why does it... This looks like one of those 19... This looks like one of those 1980s like adventure games, you know? Like the kinds for kids that you would get them, like not Sly Cooper, like the Fox. You know what I'm talking about, the Fox, right? Or that one with the car, or the one with the sock. It's very loud. Fuck you. Spy Fox, Pajama Sam. Yeah. It looks like one of those, doesn't it?
I would love to, but I don't have the capital right now.
If you're looking for investors, I've got some money saved.
Oh, boy. Wait, how many YouTube subs does this channel have, and why did that woman just record her microphone using a Game Boy Advance? Using a Game Boy Advance peripheral. Foundation for Economic Education. What?
The entertainment industry in America has a big...
Oh, man. Oh my god, this lion and elephant are fucking each other. Oh man, a video on the Joker? I copyrighted that. Only I can do that. Focuses on introducing freedom as a life philosophy to newcomers in the youth audience. Ah, they're trying to rope in the kids. How did they get 120,000 subscribers? How does that happen? All right, well.
And now for today's installment of Common Sense Soapbox, Bob to the future!
Oh yeah, I've got the location all picked out. Good spot too. I just need to save up a bit more before I open the restaurant.
Does it cost more than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 225?
We have a dilemma, comrade. Our young entrepreneurs are interested in setting up shop and bringing their creativity to the free market, but they lack the capital to do so. How will they resolve this?
Yes.
Ding! I'll have to go for a smaller share.
Bob, I appreciate that you're trying to help, but even in today's day and age, opening a restaurant is hard work, and Roberto's going to need a lot of capital investments to get started.
What? Capital investment? You're a capitalist?
All right. So, I guess I should point out that a capital investment is a necessary prerequisite for the establishment of any firm, anywhere, in any system, and does not necessarily make you a capitalist. I just want to point that out, just so everyone's perfectly clear. Even before capitalism, capital was needed to establish such a system. And even after capitalism, though we probably won't refer to it as capital, monetary investment or some sort of resource investment is a necessary prerequisite to the establishment of any institution. Just point that one out. Yeah, why does this dude have cent bags? These aren't even dollar bags, dude. He's just got like pennies in here. What the fuck? Actually, the thing that I want to know most is why did they do this pixel art style and then upscale the resolution? I don't know if you guys can see it as well, because I'm seeing it on my monitor, but the pixel art is like really jagged, and there's like a fuzzy like artifacting going on at the edges of certain corners, as though they didn't actually draw the image in a 1920 by 1080 panel.
Say it ain't so, Roberto! My beautiful taco man!
Bob, a capitalist is just someone who owns capital.
Exactly!
Bob, do you know what capital is?
I sure do! It's money!
That's one part of it, sure. but it's a little more complicated than that.
I refuse to believe anything could possibly be more complicated than I initially thought of it as.
And yet, capital is a really broad term and it covers a lot of things.
Financial assets and debt, sure, but also stuff like chef's knives and tortilla warmers and a payment processing system. Even delivery trucks and warehouses.
Wait, is this meant to be a defense of capitalism or an attack? This is just pointing out that it takes money to buy things.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah-huh. Capital is just the tools we use to make the production of all the stuff people buy easier and more efficient.
Exactly. And because it's more efficient, the final product, these delicious tacos perhaps, will be more affordable and available for everyone.
And if Roberto spends less to make the tacos, and customers like you and me spend less to buy them, we all end up with more resources for other awesome things.
So there's a couple of cool points here that we should address now that we're getting into the hardcore theory section of this stream. So let me clarify. Every time capitalists defend the concept of capitalism, they don't attack the actual thing that distinguishes capitalism from socialism. So what they're doing right here is throwing together, they're unifying capital with the means of production. So the fact that capital is used to purchase, reinvest in such and such, the means of production, is not in dispute. However, the implication is here that without capital, or without the system of capital existing as it currently does, there would be no means of production. When in fact, the means of production has existed in some form or another for as long as humanity has existed. I guess maybe not when we were all hunter-gatherers, but even then you could argue like a tanning rack or something, a spear. They're arguing a position that nobody else would attack.
Everybody wins.
So, capital's just, like, tools?
Basically, yes.
Well, capital is the money you use to invest in those tools, actually. Wait, and now I know what his next question is going to be. We live in a democracy, right? It doesn't seem very fair that, the way capital works today, it flows to the top with a very small number of incredibly wealthy people dictating the economic realities of everyone else. Couldn't the same basic functions of our market operate equivocally but more ethically if we simply redistributed the means of production and the capital used to invest in it amongst the workers who operate at these firms rather than the owners who are lucky enough to invest to begin with? All right, answer that question. Oh, geez, Rick.
Like a screwdriver. So why don't you just make your own taco wrenches instead of getting investors and buying them?
I know how to make tacos, not any of that other stuff. I want good tools, not the garbage I'd end up making. Charlie, I'll have my lawyer send some paperwork over to your financial planner.
Yeah, you still have lawyers too?
I told you it's not a utopia.
You know what? The capital thing does kind of make sense. Roberto, you've inspired me. I'm going to become an entrepreneur and start my own company too. But I think I'm going to need some capital first.
That's great. I know some places that are hiring.
Hiring? Like for a job?
Yeah.
Yeah. The least realistic part of this film. Hey, I need capital to start up a business. Oh yeah, get to work. Oh yeah, that's it. How many jobs out there? How many entry-level jobs out there paying the kind of buckaroos to front the capital for a business? If this was realistic, she would have been like, she would have said, oh yeah, well, we can head down to the bank and I can hopefully get you a loan at an interest rate that won't put your fucking grandchildren in debt, you know?
Startup capital doesn't grow on trees, you know. You're going to need to earn some money and save up.
Wait, oh shit.
Yeah. Startup capital doesn't grow on trees, you know.
Oh my fucking god. Fucking Monkus, dude. Holy shit. I didn't know this was fucking Dead Space.
You're going to need to earn some money and save up your resources, right?
He may have been able to survive being frozen for hundreds of years.
How many of these cartoons are there?
The entertainment industry in America.
Here's another one. There's another one. I assume this is the same type of stuff. Damn, there aren't that Oh man, this channel is... Is somebody funding this channel? Is democratic socialism even possible? Hayek's powerful critique of socialism and central planning. Environmentalists are grasping at straws. Damn, we don't just have a fucking capitalist here, we've got a conservative. Self-help versus victimhood politics. Iron Man versus Captain America, who's right? Ah, shit, dude, this one fucking video got 2/3 views. The real reason your rent is so high.
Meet Jessica. Jessica works at a local tech company. She likes her job, but she's always felt like she could do more. So she was very excited when she got a job offer from a tech startup in the big city. But there was one really big problem. Even with the higher salary they offered, there was no way she could afford to pay rent in the big city.
This is unfair. Greedy landlords are exploiting vulnerable renters with high prices.
True! True. That is true. Excellent. Video ends. Right here. Video cuts off right here. Okay, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for supply and demand to be patronizingly explained to me.
It should be illegal to charge this much.
This is a common demand people make, and on the surface it sounds like a good idea.
Because it is one?
Not exactly.
How'd I know that was coming?
The price of anything depends heavily on supply and demand. The reason rent is so high in most big cities is because a lot of people want to live there, but there isn't enough housing. So that means what is available is pretty expensive.
You're telling me.
Normally, when the price of something, like rent, is very high, it's a signal that there's money to be made providing that thing to others.
Hey, guys, here's a really quick question. Large cities have high rent. This is true. But large cities also depend on the labor of countless hundreds of thousands of low-paid workers, service workers, baristas, janitors, all of the people who work jobs that will never afford them enough money to live comfortably in that city are nonetheless needed in that city. Is that right? Is it really right to build a city where the people who sustain it can't afford to live within it?
So entrepreneurs start making more of that thing so they can make money. And the more people are making a thing, the more the price for it decreases, as the suppliers start competing with each other. But rent control ruins that.
Well, apparently, housing developers build more and more houses because they know they'll be able to make money off of it, except what happens when the people who already own land in that major city push against policies that would allow for the zoning of more housing development, essentially keeping more houses from being built and introducing a market failure that prevents the prices of the existing houses from being lowered, which is what they're trying to prevent by keeping those houses from being built. Oops. Does that seem like a fair system? Or the expected negotiated market price, which would allow housing costs to lower, is being thwarted by the political activism of those who already live there?
Ruin? How could rent control ruin that?
Government already makes creating housing way more expensive than it needs to be through regulatory burdens.
You want those regulatory burdens on housing, comrades. Trust me, okay? I'm just gonna... I know this is a common libertarian talking point, like the ruinous government, regulations, stripping money off the back of all the hard... No. You really, really want those regulations. You really, really want them. Okay?
But when the owners can charge whatever rent seems fair to them, there's at least a chance for them to make back the money they invested and hopefully earn a profit. But when the government puts a cap on the price of housing, it becomes almost impossible to earn a profit off of it. So yeah, the very few people who manage to get rent-controlled places to live are happy with their below-market price housing. but it ultimately makes rent more expensive for everyone else.
That part's actually true. Rent control on its own is a bad policy. That part actually is true. Rent control on its own, without the subsidization of new government housing or zoning for more housing being built, is a very bad idea for the reasons just described. He's actually correct in that respect. It's borne out in basically every instance it's been tried.
Like Jessica here, because builders know that the juice just isn't worth the squeeze. So the supply stays low, the demand stays high, and prices just keep going up.
I guess that makes sense, but if government makes all these rules that cause the price of living to get so high, why don't they just stop?
Why in
I like how she's offered one potential solution to rent being too high, which is rent control. She was told it was wrong, and the guy made a one-off comment about the expense of government regulations, and then she steps back and she's like, oh, well, why does the horrible government keep enforcing these regulations that cost so much money then, without trying another idea? Like, for example, government subsidized housing, or mandatory house zoning laws, or here's an excellent idea. Here, real quick, let's finish the video first.
indeed? Hey guys,
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Here's a really quick one. Did you know that all cities have infinitely more empty houses than they do homeless people? I know you've heard that stat before. There's a ton of empty houses, like a huge number of them. Do you know why? It's because in these places where land is so expensive, you know that you can buy that land and build a property there, even if it's never used. Just sitting on it increases its value as rent prices increase, as land prices increase. Essentially meaning that it is an investment. Except it's not just a regular investment. It's an investment that physically keeps people who live in that city from occupying that space. So it's like an investment, except it hurts people. And the people who make those investments will push and lobby to keep more houses from being built to preserve the interest they get on their investment. Because if more houses are built, that will decrease the rate at which land prices increase and therefore make their property less worthwhile. So it's kind of like an investment, except it hurts people, and it means you push for political policies that hurt even more people in the long run, potentially millions of people. So we have cities that are unaffordable to the people who need to live within those cities to keep it functional. I mean, even the wealthiest parts of town need service workers, do they not? They can't all be filled by 16-year-olds. We have cities that refuse to push outward and expand their housing projects because of the lobbying being done by people who are already benefiting from the sky-high land prices. And you have investors who are speculating on houses by buying land and not opening it up to use, allowing their investment to increase in price while simultaneously preventing more houses from being built, making sure that everything stays expensive into perpetuity. This is a highly ineffective system. Highly ineffective system that can be addressed with government housing, or with a push for more land zoning. If you could get it past the state or city, legislator. These are policies that can really help folks in the long run. The more houses that are being built, the more highways, the more metro that's being built, the more we expand, the more we make our cities accessible to those who need to live there, the better they are for those who want to live there. And that's something we should all look forward to, because the more people are in a city, the more economic production there is too. Everyone benefits in the long run. The only people who don't immediately benefit are a tiny subset of the population that makes an extraordinary amount of money off of speculation from the prices of land and rent. Landlords, landowners. Fuck them. What is land zoning? Yeah, land zoning is when you determine what can be built on a plot of land. Like, you know how when you drive through a city, some sections of it are dedicated to houses, and some sections of it are dedicated to office buildings, and some sections of it are dedicated to skyscrapers? That zoning is being determined by the city when they decide what other people are or are not allowed to build there. A great example that exhibits every point Vosh makes is LA. Well, I was born in LA, so it makes sense that I'd be familiar with the problems inherent to the system.